My sister said my job was soulless. I said her dreams were delusional. For 10 years, we barely spoke, but everything changed in one moment. She's only a year younger than me, but it's like we were born in different families. I don't mean our parents treated us differently, they loved us both. Equally, actually. I've never doubted that. But we just absorbed it in different ways. I saw in them stability, wisdom, something to live up to. She saw a cage. A well-meaning, nicely painted cage. Ever since we were kids, I followed their lead. I got good grades, joined debate, played nice with the teachers. I wanted to be that kid they brag about. And I was. Not out of fear, but because I genuinely believed they knew better. My sister though, God, she was fire. Always dancing, literally. She was always in some dance program or another, skipping family dinners to rehearse, wearing tights and hoodies with holes in the elbows, coming home smelling like sweat and hairspray. Her idols weren't our parents or any of their friends. They were choreographers with weird names and even weirder philosophies. She talked about expression and movement, while I was learning how to write resumes. Our fights started young and never really stopped. I'd tell her she was selfish for ignoring what Mom asked. She'd call me a kiss-ass. I'd remind her the world isn't built for dreams without structure. She'd tell me I sounded like a boring guidance counselor. I went to college right after high school, full ride, business major. She didn't even apply. Said she'd figure it out. I told her, figure it out, doesn't pay bills. She rolled her eyes and told me I was destined to rot in a cubicle. We didn't talk much after that. Only at holidays, and even then, we kept it surface level. I'd ask how dance was going. She'd mutter, fine, and go help Mom with the dishes. I heard through the grapevine she opened a dance studio in some basement space. Posted flyers, taught little kids after school. I wanted to be happy for her, but I knew the margins in that kind of business. You don't win against math. And I guess that's what bugged me most, she didn't seem to care about winning. I got my first job before graduation. Nothing flashy, just an entry level at a firm that fixed up commercial properties. A year later I was managing my own accounts. Bought a nice car. Booked a trip to Spain with my girlfriend. When we got engaged, we planned the wedding fast. I sent out the invites, family included of course. My sister called me the next day. Said she had an idea. She and her girls, her dance group, could perform at the reception. Said it'd be memorable, emotional, unique. I asked her how much. She gave me a number that made me laugh out loud. Not because she wasn't worth it, I'm sure someone would have paid that, but because I knew she thought this was her moment. Her chance to turn the spotlight back on herself. I told her thanks but no thanks. We were going for simple. Classic. She hung up on me. I didn't even bother calling back. I figured she'd come around. She didn't. Instead, she posted some passive-aggressive story about people who sell their souls to cubicles and think a white dress erases their mediocrity. My fiancé saw it. Asked if it was about me. I just shrugged. Because I already knew how she saw me. And honestly, part of me had started seeing her the same way. A week after the wedding, I found out she didn't come not because she was busy but because she didn't want to celebrate a life built on conformity. Her words, not mine. Mom was crushed. Dad just sighed and poured himself a drink. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just tired. Like I'd been running in circles trying to get her to see me not as a robot in a tie, but as her damn brother. But no matter what I did, she kept acting like she was on some higher plane, some misunderstood visionary suffering for her art. Meanwhile, reality was kicking her in the teeth. I heard from Mom that her studio was struggling, months in the red, barely paying rent. The parents of the kids she taught weren't paying on time, and some weren't coming back. But instead of cutting her losses, she picked up a second job, waiting tables at a sushi place across town. Nothing wrong with that. God knows I respect anyone who works hard. But she acted like it was temporary. Like the universe would eventually recognize her greatness and send salvation in the form of a Netflix dance doc, or whatever the hell she thought was coming. We saw each other again at Thanksgiving. She looked tired. Hair tied up messily, dark circles under her eyes. I asked how she was doing. She said, Living. Then asked if my car was leased or bought. I said bought. She rolled her eyes and muttered something about capitalism. I asked if she still thought I was a corporate zombie. She said she thought I was a sellout. I said at least I could afford to live. That's when Mom intervened. Told us both to knock it off and eat. That night, I found her crying in the kitchen when everyone else had gone to bed. I didn't say anything. Just stood there. After a minute, she whispered, "I tried so hard. I thought if I just pushed through, something would come. A break. Recognition. Something." I didn't know what to say. Because I knew that feeling. That ache of giving everything to something and watching it go nowhere. I told her, "You're not a failure. But you don't have to bleed for your dreams to matter." She asked me what that even meant. I said it meant maybe it's okay to want stability. To want something solid. She looked at me, eyes rimmed red, and for the first time in years, didn't look like she hated me. Just looked tired. The next morning, before she left, I handed her a card. It was for the admissions office at a local college. "They've got some solid programs," I said. "Night classes even. You don't have to stop dancing. Just think about it." She didn't say anything. Just nodded, tucked it in her bag, and left. She didn't text me for 2 weeks. I figured she threw the card out, like every other olive branch I'd offered in the past. But then Mom called and said, "Your sister wants to talk to you." I didn't expect much, honestly. But when she showed up at my door, she looked different. Less angry. Less like someone trying to prove something. She sat on my couch, looked around like she'd never really seen how I lived before. "It's nice," she said. "Thanks," I replied. Then silence, long and heavy. Finally she said, "I applied. For the college. Starting in January. Graphic design. Still creative, but..." I smiled before she finished. "But maybe you can pay rent without making sushi at 11 p.m.? She laughed. First time in months I'd heard it. Then she got quiet again. "I know I've been hard to be around. And I know I said some messed up things. I just..." She trailed off, searching for the right words. "I thought needing help meant I failed. And you always made everything look so easy." That hit me harder than I expected. I told her, "It's never been easy. But I had support. I had a path. You were carving your own from scratch." She nodded, eyes glassy. "Mom and Dad, did they know you gave me that card?" I shook my head. "Didn't want to pressure you. They love you. They just didn't know how to help." She looked down. "I always thought they loved you more." "No," I said. "They just didn't know what to do with you. You were louder. Braver. You scared them." She smiled sadly. "I scared myself sometimes." I opened my laptop, logged into my banking app, and without a word, transferred her first semester's tuition. "You're not alone in this," I said. She didn't cry. She just reached across the couch and hugged me tight. Like we were 10 again and I was still the only one who could scare off the monsters under her bed. Only this time, the monster was real life. And we were finally on the same side. It's been almost a year since that day on the couch. She's in school now. Not the top of her class, but definitely one of the most driven. Works part-time at a local gallery, spends her nights sketching ideas for a performance piece that blends movement with digital media. Still dancing. Still dreaming. But with a foundation now. Something real under her feet. And the funny thing is, we're closer than we've ever been. I call her when I'm stuck choosing tiles for a client's kitchen remodel, and she FaceTimes me when she needs help with a budget spreadsheet. She's still chaotic, still rolls her eyes at my tucked-in shirts and morning routines. I'm still methodical, still raise an eyebrow when she dyes her hair neon blue just because it felt like a Tuesday color. But now we meet in the middle. A few weeks ago, we all had dinner at our parents' place, just like old times, but without the tension humming beneath the surface. Mom made lasagna, Dad poured too much wine, and my sister stood up halfway through dessert and said, "I know I've made a mess of things, but I'm really trying. And I'm grateful." There was silence for a second. Then Dad raised his glass and said, "We've always been proud of you. We just didn't know how to say it without sounding like we wanted something different." That moment? It stayed with me. Family isn't always easy. It's not a Hallmark card or a neatly tied bow. It's fights and misunderstandings and years of not getting each other. But when it works, when it really, really works, it's because someone chose not to give up. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad she didn't. And I'm glad our parents never did. Life's weird like that. Sometimes the person you fought with the most becomes the one you lean on the hardest. And sometimes the best kind of success is watching someone you love finally believe they deserve better. I always knew there was a difference between us. Me and my twin brother. We were born minutes apart, but from the second we started breathing, it felt like we were raised on opposite ends of the same battlefield. I got Dad. He got Mom. And that shaped everything. Dad was a hard ass. A real old school, work with your hands, earn every dollar type of man. He never coddled me, never handed me anything. But he respected grit. He respected effort. And I craved that respect like oxygen. So I learned to earn it. I fixed things around the house, helped him build the shed out back, stayed out of trouble, and hit the books hard. I was quiet, focused, always planning my next step. Because I knew no one else was gonna hand me anything. My brother, though, he got a different version of life. Mom doted on him. Cuddled him. Made excuses for him when he messed up. He always had the newer phone, the better clothes, the freedom to screw up and call it a learning experience. I didn't envy him. Not really. I just learned early on that we played by different rules. For my 20th birthday, I asked for a trip across the country and enrollment in a specialized trade seminar I'd researched for months. I wanted to see how far I could go on my own. My brother? He got a Rolex and a brand new BMW. No strings. Just wrapped up with a bow from Mom and Dad. And he wore that watch like it was proof of superiority. Like life was already won. When we were kids, we'd get into fights like brothers do, but even then, the divide showed. I'd walk away, biting my tongue. He'd scream, throw something, and then get Mom to scold me for provoking him. Whatever. I let it slide. I always let it slide. I figured if I kept my head down and worked hard, I'd make something better for myself. And I did. After college, state school, full ride, I got a job in construction management. Built my way up from crew lead to site manager to regional. Long hours, tough hands, but good money. I married Emily a year after graduation. She was beautiful, smart, and real. The kind of woman who didn't flinch at my calloused hands or early mornings. We had a small place, then a bigger one. A life. I kept saving. Quietly. Planning something bigger. I wanted to open my own firm. I didn't tell Emily at first. I didn't want to jinx it. Meanwhile, my brother? Still riding the family gravy train. He never really kept a job longer than a year. Always chasing the next big opportunity. Driving a car he couldn't afford if it weren't for Dad. Flashing the Rolex like it was an extension of his hand. Living in a high-rise penthouse our parents covered. And Mom kept enabling him, like she always had. I said nothing. Let him live. Emily found him charming. Most people did. He was the kind of guy who could say nothing for 10 minutes, and still make you feel like he said something brilliant. I didn't blame her for laughing at his jokes or asking about his projects. I didn't even flinch when she'd compliment his stupid designer boots or say he had good taste in wine. Because I trusted her. Because I thought we were solid. Because I never believed, not in a million years, that someone like her would ever look at my brother the way she looked at me. I was wrong. Thanksgiving that year was hosted at our parents' place like always. Big house, long table, everything laid out like some magazine spread. Clara wore that green dress she knew I liked, and she floated around the room like she belonged in it more than I did. My brother, slick as ever, showed up late in that obnoxious white sports car he got for his 20th birthday, the one he never earned, just unwrapped. He kissed Mom on the cheek, handed her a designer wine bottle like it was some grand gesture, then dropped himself next to Clara at the dinner table like it was his seat all along. I should have known. The way they laughed together, how she leaned into him when he spoke, the private jokes they suddenly shared, it all should have lit me up inside. But I was tired. Tired from 12-hour workdays, from juggling projects, from saving for something she didn't even know about. I brushed it off. She was just being friendly, I told myself. And he was just being his usual charming self. I didn't say a word that night. But I started watching. Over the next few weeks, she got more distant. Smiling at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Long showers. Longer work meetings. She started defending him more whenever his name came up. "You're too hard on him," she'd say. "He's not that bad." Then came the night I found her on the balcony, whispering into her phone. I didn't hear much, but I caught the name, his name, and the way her voice softened when she said it. My heart didn't break all at once. It cracked. Like thin glass under slow pressure. I confronted her the next morning. Asked if there was something going on. She lied. Said I was being paranoid. But when I asked her directly, "Is it my brother?" her mouth opened, then closed again. No words. Just guilt spilling from her face like blood from a wound. It started after that Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. One drunken night while I was out on a job. She claimed it was a mistake. But it happened again. And again. And then it wasn't a mistake anymore. It was something they couldn't stop. I asked her why. Why him? Why my own brother? She said he made her feel alive. That he gave her attention. That I was always gone. Always tired. I didn't hit her. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just stood there, frozen, wondering how I missed it all. She moved out the next week. Packed her things and left a note, like we were teenagers after a high school breakup. And she went straight to him. Into the penthouse. Into the luxury. Into the arms of the brother who got everything handed to him while I bled for every inch. At first, he acted like he won. Like this was some rom-com ending. Told our cousins it was fate. Told anyone who'd listen that I hadn't appreciated her. That they were in love now and that's all that mattered. Mom, predictably, tried to smooth it over. "Sometimes hearts just choose," she said, as if that explained it. But Dad didn't say a damn word. Just walked out of the room mid-sentence. That was when I knew something had shifted. Not just in my life, but in the way the whole family saw things. The golden boy had crossed the line too far. And there would be consequences. I didn't say a word when they moved in together. No shouting match, no social media posts, no late-night texts begging her to come back. I just vanished from their lives like I never existed. Let them play house. Let them think they won. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been preparing for this kind of betrayal my whole life. When you grow up second to your twin in everything, love, attention, affection, you either break or you sharpen. And I'd been sharpening since I was a kid. So I poured every ounce of anger, grief, and betrayal into building the business I'd been dreaming about in silence. I cashed out some investments, emptied the personal savings account I'd kept hidden even from Clara, and got to work. Construction logistics, material sourcing, hiring the right people, I had it all mapped out. Dad noticed. He wasn't a man of many words, but when he handed me a check and muttered, "You've earned it," I knew it was his way of choosing sides without making a scene. That money? It was a seed. And I planted it deep. Within 8 months, I had a full-time crew, 3 major residential contracts, and a name starting to circulate through the local builders network. My phone rang constantly. I barely slept. But I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. The house got bigger. The truck got newer. And the feeling of walking into a room with calloused hands and people shaking mine like I mattered, that was worth more than anything my brother ever had handed to him. Meanwhile, Ryan, my perfect twin, golden child, charmer of women, he started slipping. Fast. The Rolex? In a pawn shop by Christmas. The Mercedes? Repossessed right out of the penthouse garage. The rent? Unpaid for 3 months straight before the landlord finally kicked them out. Turns out Clara didn't love the version of him that couldn't flash his parents' money around. The parties dried up. The dinners turned to takeout. The fun became fights. She got tired of living on borrowed money and broken promises. And just like she left me, she left him too. Only this time, there wasn't a soft landing. She moved back in with her sister out of town, and from what I heard, she started therapy. Good for her. I hope she figures herself out. But I didn't waste a second looking back. I'd met someone. Met her at a job site, actually. She was an architect consulting on one of our first custom home builds. Smart as hell, eyes that didn't flinch when I talked about long hours and busted knuckles, and a laugh that didn't feel forced. Her name was Madison, and she made me feel seen in a way Clara never did. We didn't rush things, but when we moved in together, it was real. No secrets. No games. No golden twin brother hanging like a shadow over everything. It felt like starting life for the first time on my terms. No noise. No guilt. Just mine. Ryan didn't go down quietly. That's not his style. When he realized the money was drying up and that Clara was gone, he started doing what he always did, blaming everyone else. He showed up at Mom and Dad's house 2 days before Easter, unannounced, reeking of whiskey and desperation, begging for another chance. Mom was crying before he even got to the second sentence, but Dad just stood there, arms crossed, silent. Ryan threw around all the classics. I made mistakes, she meant nothing, I was lost, he took everything from me. Like I hadn't been the one left with the ashes of a life he helped burn down. But the family wasn't buying it this time. Something had shifted. My cousins, my uncles, even the aunts who used to pinch his cheeks and call him the sweet one, they'd all heard what happened. Clara didn't stay quiet. And neither did I. I never badmouthed him publicly, but I never defended him either. I just let the truth sit. And it spoke for itself. Dad called a family meeting the week after. We thought it was going to be the usual holiday gathering, egg hunts, wine, forced smiles, but it wasn't. He stood at the head of the table, his old man hands gripping a folded-up document, and cleared his throat. This, he said, holding up the paper, is my will. It's been updated. No one breathed. I'm leaving everything to one son. The one who's earned it. And then he turned and looked directly at me. The one who knows the value of building something instead of taking it. He didn't have to say Ryan's name. The silence did that for him. Mom gasped. Some of the family looked down at their plates. Others nodded. Ryan? He stood up, rage painted across his face, and stormed out of the room without a word. I didn't follow. Why would I? He had made his choice long ago. After that, I heard he tried to start some half-baked business, using borrowed money and someone else's car again. Didn't last long. Then the calls started. First to my phone. Then to Madison's. Then to my dad. Just need a little help, man. I'm not asking for much. You don't even know what it's like. I never responded. I didn't have to. Everyone knew the answer. He burned every bridge, lit them up like fireworks, and now wanted to act like we should all build them back. Madison once asked if I ever missed him. I thought about it. I miss who I wanted him to be, I said. Not who he is. Life moved on. My business kept growing. Madison and I got engaged. We travel now. Real vacations. Not the kind I used to dream about while watching him unwrap luxury gifts. I took Dad on a trip to Italy last summer. He'd never been. Said it was the first time he felt like all those years of work had meant something. Ryan? I heard he moved in with an old college buddy across town. Works part-time detailing cars and sells knockoff watches online. Last Christmas, I got a card from Mom. Just her name. No Ryan. No mention. Just, hope you're well. Proud of you. And that was enough. Because the thing about full circles is, they don't always end where you thought they would. Sometimes they end where you finally feel whole. Subscribe, hit the like button, and explore more fascinating stories.